Greetings, fellow Kerbonauts. Welcome to Kerbal Space Program. My name is Rice. I am a KSP Minimalist, and this is the Minimalist Shuttle Program. Okay, so here we go. So we're gonna pick up where we left off from our last live stream here, and we are gonna head over to our space shuttle, which is currently resupplying at the Kerbal National Space Station. And our current mission today is to refuel the space shuttle and then attach the nuclear engine that we have up top here on the space station and reattach it to the shuttle's hind side here. Then we can use that nuclear engine to launch our shuttle directly toward the moon, or the mun, depending on how you want to pronounce that. And then we can properly deliver our space station core module in orbit around the moon. In order for us to eventually build a base on the surface of the moon, we need to have a proper orbital presence there. Now, as keeping to the minimalist style of this game, we're going to stick, hopefully, mostly to 1.25 meter parts while maintaining less part counts and lighter vehicles here. Okay, so let's go ahead and prepare to resupply our shuttle. So let's go ahead and right-click our fuel tank here. And the fuel tank, and let's click the fuel pod up here. And let's go ahead and transfer our fuel. Next up, what we're going to do is we're going to take our utility pod here. And let's go ahead and disconnect our utility pod. And we're going to use that utility pod to transfer our nuclear engine over to the space shuttle. Here, let's get just a tad bit closer. Good. All right, so what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and grab Bill, our resident space engineer, and he's going to attach the utility pod to the nuclear engine. We're going to try to attach it towards the front side here. There we go. And then link it. And link. Perfect. Okay, so we have a good link to our nuclear engine. So we're going to go ahead and have Bill go back into the station here, so we don't have him drift around too much. Okay. Here we are. Good job, Bill. We'll have you come out in just a little bit there. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and speed up to about 5 times speed here while we move the nuclear engine off of the Kerbal National Space Station and begin the relatively casual process of moving that piece of equipment over to the back of the space shuttle here. Part of the reason why I speed up time on this one here is generally I like to take my time when it comes to docking or moving pieces of equipment around. However, this is a fairly intricate and sensitive part of the mission, so if anything, it's definitely worth checking out here. Just not in regular real time, as this took an extremely long period of time to move this nuclear engine to the shuttle. And that was, in some ways, it was kind of on purpose. Because as you've probably heard me say many a time, I love docking. And docking is a lot of fun, to me, at least. Alright, so here we go, and we are moving in nice and gentle-like. So now, we've come to ourselves, we come to a pretty good straight and narrow alignment, thanks to our Navy Fish docking mod here. And we've almost got connection, and... oh, perfect. There we go. Okay. And now, let's go ahead and bring Bill back out here so that he can go ahead and disconnect the utility module from the nuclear engine so that we can repark that utility module back to the Kerbal National Space Station. There we go. Perfect. Thank you, Bill, once again. All right, back into the station you go. And now that we got the delicate stuff out of the way, let's go ahead and head back to past me here while we finish docking the utility module. Per usual, this one's going to be a sloppy dock because this utility pod is not a permanent attachment to the space station, and we tend to take it out quite liberally, a lot. We're just going to slam that thing into its parking spot there. Okay, perfect. All right, we are just about good to go. RCS is on and jetting away. We're going to have to turn off the fine-tune mode here. Good. Okay, and retroing our RCS thrusters. We have a clean undock here. All right, and Jebediah is going to close up our cargo bay and turning off cargo bay lights. Perfect. Okay, so what we need to do also is we need to activate that nuclear engine. Perfect. Nuclear engine is activated, and then we need to shut down these other engines here. These side engines, we can technically use for our translunar injection, but I prefer not to use it because they're not very fuel efficient. Their ISP is pretty bad, unfortunately, which is why we're using the nuclear engine. Okay, here we go, and let's go ahead and set up for our maneuver node in preparation for intercept with the moon. Okay, let's go and add that maneuver node. So we're going to go ahead and have Jebediah automatically target our maneuver node. Stand by for transmunner injection in 3, 2, 1. Perfect. And as you can see, our estimated burn has realigned itself. So we're going to be doing pretty good here. Okay, so let's go ahead and speed up time just a tad bit. Okay, and slowing ourselves up, we are at... and stopping ourselves, and we're going back to regular time warp here. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off this maneuver node because we are just doing fine. SAS is on. Okay, and then we're just going to tippy tap and fine tune our intercept to the mun here. Okay, so we should have intercept any moment now. Fuel load is looking good. We have 2/3 of our fuel left, so we are perfect. We have more than enough to complete not only our intercept to the moon, but also our we have more than enough to complete our circularization around the moon too. Now, what we have here right now, this one is a retrograde orbit around the moon. It looks like, so we're going to have to keep thrusting until this moon periaps hits 0, and then goes back to positive again. There we go. At this point, we are targeted to smack into the moon. So let's keep thrusting here. Okay, and we are scooching along very carefully. Let's go and increase thrust just a little bit more. And a little bit more now. Come on, give us a prograde. Give us prograde here, buddy. Okay, so we're getting there. Getting there. Okay. There we go. Now we have a mun. Now we have a mun periaps. Good. Now this, if you look here, we are now at a prograde orbit around the mun. At least that's where we're scheduled to be. Okay, so let's go and head on over towards our space shuttle here. Jebediah, Bartop, hang on tight. We're gonna speed up time here and head on towards the mun. Look at that moon. Just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, and coming up, Shuttle Enterprise has approached the periaps. Stand by for mun insertion burn. Turning our shuttle over to 270 degrees. We are at retrograde. Stand by for retrograde burn. Turning our shuttle towards the horizon. Retrograde burn in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, and we are thrusting away. We've entered orbit at about 760 meters per second, slowing ourselves down pretty good here. Okay, and Jebediah is happy that he's finally reached the mun. Now, as you can see, our camera has automatically changed point of views. Now, what that means is that we are in a stable orbit. Well, we're going to be in a stable orbit in a little bit here. There we go. Perfect. We are nice and circularized. Good deal. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's get ready to... Let's spend the night and head on over to the other side of the planet. We're going to wait till morning for us to release our cargo. Okay, so scooching over past the night side of the mun. There's our Remo, our resupply module. Hey, all right, we made it to the other side. Okay. So let's go ahead and prepare to release our cargo. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and turn our shuttle north. It's always a good idea to have the space station facing north or south. That way you make the space station a little bit more predictable when it comes time to dock with it. Because you always know that the top end of the station is always facing north and south, and the bottom end of the station is always facing south. Okay, opening up cargo bays and activating lights. Good. Okay, so bar top, if you want to come on out, we need you to inspect the release of our cargo. Okay, here we go. Work lights on. Okay. Bar top is doing a quick inspection of our core module for the MUN space station, making sure that everything looks nice and pretty. Okay, here we go, getting ready for cargo release. Okay, good, and switching over towards our shuttle. Alright, standing by to undock the MUN space station core module. Undocking in 3, 2, 1. Decoupled. Good. RCS is up. And let's scooch ourselves away. Perfect. Switching over to the station. There we are. I'm going to go ahead and activate all the life support on our station here. Because I usually tend to forget to reactivate life support when we put in a man presence on this thing. And usually Kerbals end up dying as a result. So we want to make sure that we alleviate that. Okay, monopropellant is good. Okay, good, good, good. Okay, and doesn't look like much right now, but this core module is going to start exploding pretty good once we attach all the other modules to this thing on future missions. Okay, let's take a look at how much fuel we have. We have plenty of fuel. Okay, everything is looking good. Okay, bar top. Let's do a quick inspection of the station. Make sure everything looks good. Doesn't look like there's any visual damage to our station core module here. So everything looks pretty good. Okay, bar top, let's go and head back to the shuttle. We're kind of moving at a sort of reckless pace here. There we go. Okay, electrical power is good. Everything looks good. Are we getting power to our solar panels? Yep. Okay. Perfect. What we're gonna do is we have some spare fuel. What we're gonna do is we're gonna resupply the resupply module. Sounds a little bit redundant, but unfortunately, the Remo module still needs a little bit more fuel to top it off. It's about at half fuel capacity right now. So we're gonna go ahead and turn our shuttle prograde. Okay, here we are, and we are on prograde on the shuttle. Let's go and thrust ourselves away, get some proper clearance away from the space station. What we're going to do is we need to rename this station here too. So rename, and we're going to call this quite romantically the MUN station. Perfect. Okay, maybe we'll give it another proper name once the station gets to be of a proper size here. Okay. Let's go ahead and set up an intercept for the station. Okay, so thrusting away. Look at that amazing acceleration on that 60 kilonewtons of thrust on that nuclear engine. Go ahead and speed up time here. Okay, so we're coming up right up on the Remo. Remo is now in visual range. Okay, RCS up. Okay, so as you can see, our RCS isn't doing much of a difference right now because we're going a little bit too fast. We have too much mass and we're going with too much speed here. So we're going to go and slow ourselves down. So we're going to use our RCS to hiss our way to a more favorable speed here. Okay, since the Remo is about 500 meters away, we want to drop ourselves. Down below 4 meters per second here. Okay, so we're going to use our RCS to realign our prograde marker right over the target marker. There we go. Okay, 3 meters per second to target is actually, that's pretty respectable. Okay, so we have Jebediah, happy anticipation to resupplying the Remo module with Bartop. A little bit in panic mode there. Okay, so we're going to go and speed up time. And there's the Remo module. Okay, so RCS up. And we need to slow ourselves down big time here. We are just moving like a sports car. Want to drop ourselves down to roughly about 0.2 meters per second. There we go. Okay, this slow speed will be an advantage for us because now our RCS is a little bit more effective at this slower speed. Okay, let's go ahead and turn ourselves towards a target. Let's go ahead and prepare for dock. Opening up cargo bays. Lights on. Okay, now that we have an empty cargo bay, we have a lot less mass to work with. Thank goodness. Turning on fine-tune mode. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and approach the Remo module very carefully here. Here we go. We're going to come up to the Remo module from underneath. Okay, and RCSing forward. Okay, and speeding up time. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we may scrape the bottom of our resupply module here. So we're going to slow ourselves down just a tad bit. There we go, and we're going to dip ourselves down. Perfect. Beautiful. We have a nice, beautiful intercept towards the docking port of our Remo module here. Okay, once again, approaching the Remo module at 0.1 meters per second, which is recklessly fast by NASA standards. But certainly not by Kerbal standards here. Okay, coming up from underneath. Oh, we've sped along at 0.2, so we're going to slow ourselves down just a little bit more. Okay, here we go. And let's go ahead and zero out our speed. There we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and prep for dock. Now, there's going to be a differentiation in mass when we dock with this Remo module. So when the magnetics take over between our docking port and their docking port, the Remo module is the one that's going to be yanked towards the shuttle rather than the shuttle yanked toward the Remo module. So it's going to shift its orbit just a little bit there. So we may want to take that. So we're going to take that into consideration when we undock from the Remo module after we finish resupplying it. And when we take that into consideration, we need to realign the orbit of the Remo module again. Okay, so we are 1.1 meters to target. Okay, and our speed is 0.02 meters per second. Turning off RCS and turning off SAS. Magnetics should be taking over momentarily. Whoops, 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 whoops. We are off alignment. RCS back on, SAS back on. We got to do a little quick emergency alignment here. Oh. Remember when I told you that the shuttle has more mass than the Remo module, so it's going to yank the Remo module? That's exactly what happened just now. So we may have just unintentionally altered the orbit of the Remo module, but that's okay. All right, so we're going to F5 for safety here. SAS is back on again. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and transfer the fuel from the... Oh my goodness. Okay. So guys, I was wrong. The Remo module is actually full up. It has all its fuel already loaded in. So we just kind of wasted an intercept to the Remo module. Oh well. Okay, so we did come here to deliver the core module to our MUN space station. So that was the important part. At least we were able to confirm that our Remo module is good to go. All right, we'll catch you later there, Remo module. We appreciate you already being full up on fuel there and supplies. Okay, so let's go ahead and control from here. Okay, perfect. So now we need to begin the process of going back to Kerbin. Here we go. So turning off cargo lights, closing up cargo bay. And let's go and take a look and see what our orbit is like right now. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to do a retrograde. We want to burn ourselves retrograde when we come perpendicular to Kerbin. So we're going to retrograde right about here where our periapse is. Okay, here we go. And fast forwarding towards the periapse. Okay, we're going to have to scooch a little bit past the periapse here. There we go. Okay, we're going to head on over towards the Remo module's periapse. All right, stand by. And really, we don't really need an maneuver node to do a retrograde burn back to Kerbin. This is just good enough here. Okay, so pointing to prograde. Standing by for trans Kerbin injection in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And burning away for trans Kerbin injection. All right, Jeb, Bartop, say goodbye to the Mun. Jebediah, happy to be going back home to Kerbin. However, Bartop still doesn't look quite happy. I think it might be that whole 0.5 Gs that we're pulling here as we are jetting away from the Mun. Okay, here we go. And we are giving a nice textbook burn here, heading back to Kerbin. Okay, and that Apple app should be disappearing in just a few moments here. Jetting away from the Remo module. Okay, so well, now what we do is after we get an intercept towards Kerbin, we're going to have to use the atmosphere to slow ourselves down, because before we land back at Kerbin, we need to do an intercept with the Kerbal National Space Station so that we can give this nuclear engine back to the station. We're just borrowing. We are just borrowing that nuclear engine. So we're not keeping it. And as a matter of fact, it probably wouldn't do us any good to land back at Kerbin with a 4-ton nuclear engine strapped to our back. That's going to really screw up our lift to weight here. Okay. Here we go. Sitting pretty. We're going to shoot for 35 kilometers here. Okay. Here we go. And going to zoom ourselves ahead. All right, leaving the Mun behind. Woo! Okay. Okay, here we are, and our App is a lot smaller now. It looks like it's about 2 million meters here. So we're looking pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and speed up time and going to come ourselves around again. All right. Now, interesting fact about the real-life space shuttle is that the real-life space shuttle, at the time of its development, utilized a new piece of technology that hadn't been used before, and frankly scared a lot of people, and that is the famous fly-by-wire system. Nowadays, we don't really think about it. Most aircraft that we fly nowadays, just about every piece of aircraft that we fly nowadays uses a fly-by-wire system. However, the space shuttle was one of the first aircraft, and spacecraft for that matter, to utilize a fly-by-wire system. What do I mean by fly-by-wire system? Well, a fly-by-wire system is what it does is it relieves the pilot's requirement to have a mechanical connection to all of its control surfaces. So beforehand, if you moved a stick or you pressed a button, it had a connection via pulleys, wires, gears, whatever, directly connected towards the control surfaces of the aircraft. A fly-by-wire system removes that mechanical connection. So in effect, when you press a button or you move a control stick, that gets translated digitally to a computer, and the computer interprets those motions that you make as and interprets those motions for you and moves your control surfaces for you. Now, the idea, back when the space shuttle was developed, the idea of having a computer decide what your control surfaces should be doing, depending on the buttons that you press, scared a lot of people at the time. And arguably, that was a that was a pretty understandable assumption, to trust your life to a computer system to move the control surfaces of your spacecraft or of your aircraft. And because it was such a brand new technology, the biggest fear was that if you pressed a control button or you moved a control stick and you told the shuttle to do A, but the computer misinterpreted it as to have the shuttle do B, you stand a risk of accidentally maybe your shuttle going into a flat spin on reentry and killing everyone on board. So, due to this fear, the NASA software engineers were trying to consider, what are we going to do? How do we put in redundant systems to protect the fly-by-wire system? What they came up with was something that was pretty interesting, and they came up with a system of 4 computers. These were IBM 32-bit computers, and these were used as a redundant measure toward the fly-by-wire system. What they did was they used 4 separate computers. Each computer could do the exact same task that the other computer could do on the fly-by-wire system, and so you had 4 redundant fly-by-wire systems. Now, what was really interesting is how they implemented the redundancy on the fly-by-wire system. The entire system as a whole was called PASS, which is an acronym for Primary Avionics Software System. We're going to go ahead and lift our periaps here. And we're going to bring our periaps to about 42 kilometers this time around. We're going to zoom around back to Kerbal. Now, PASS, back to the topic of the fly-by-wire system on the space shuttle, PASS, the Primary Avionics Software System, and its 4 IBM computers, didn't even have a hard drive. It had the capability to compile 400,000 commands per second, which is nothing compared to today's computers, and it didn't have a hard drive. As a matter of fact, it read all of its commands off of a magnetic tape. So, really rudimentary stuff. However, what's really interesting is that the fly-by-wire system was each fly-by-wire computer, or PASS, was given what was called veto and voting capabilities. So they gave each computer the ability to vote or veto each other. Why did they do that? Well, say a astronaut presses a control stick, moves a control stick, or presses a button and tells the shuttle to do A, right? Those commands go towards the 4 computers. The 4 computers computate what needs to be done in order for the shuttle to do A, like what the astronaut wants. If all 4 computers unanimously agree, okay, the astronaut wants to do A, let's do A, then they tell the control surfaces on the shuttle to do A. Really neat. Good redundancy measure they have going on there. Now, let's say, for instance, that the astronaut says, hey, he presses a button or moves a control stick and tells the shuttle to do A, and 3 of the computer systems do the calculations and say, okay, I agree, let's do A, but the 4th computer says, let's do B instead. That's what I think we should be doing. Then the other 3 computers are going to probably look pretty evilly at the 4th computer, and what they're going to do is they're going to veto the 4th computer. And by vetoing, they basically outvote the 4th computer and remove its capability to control any part of the shuttle at all. So they're effective. So the other 3 computers effectively turn off the 4th computer. Right. So now the shuttle is flying on just 3 computers, which the shuttle can do just perfectly fine. This fly-by-wire system can work perfectly fine on just 3 computers. But say it happens again, right? Say the shuttle is moving along now on 3 computers, and the astronaut moves a control stick and presses a button, right, to tell the shuttle to do A. Instead, however, 2 computers say, yes, I agree, we should do A. But the 3rd computer says, you know what, I think we should do B instead. Well, the other 2 computers first look angrily at the 3rd computer, and it vetoes the 3rd computer, effectively cutting off its, same thing what they did with the 4th computer, cutting off its ability to control the space shuttle. And now the space shuttle is now flying on just 2 computers. The shuttle is designed to be fully functional on its fly-by-wire system with just 2 computers. However, NASA protocol dictates that if your shuttle is flying on just 2 fly-by-wire computers, you are required to go back to Kennedy Space Center, effectively putting an end to your shuttle mission. All right, so at that point, yes, pack up your things. We are going back home to Kennedy Space Center because your computers are completely wonky. Now, pretty ingenious system they had going on there with the redundancy on the fly-by-wire system. However, they weren't done yet. When they finished programming the software for the fly-by-wire system for the real-life space shuttle, the next issue that they were concerned about was, hey, we have 4 IBM computers using the exact same piece of software to control the fly-by-wire system on the space shuttle. What happens if we get a bug in the system? If we have a rudimentary bug that affects one of the computer systems, it'll affect all 4 of the computer systems. Why? Because they're all using the same programming software. So, in effect, one bug can screw up all 4 of the fly-by-wire systems. So what they did was they added in a 5th computer. The 5th computer was referred to as BFS, or the backup flight system. Now, what's really neat is the backup flight system used a completely different set of programming lingo than the other 4 computers. That way, if the 4 computers ever get infected with, say, a bug or a misuse in its programming logic that caused the 4 computer systems to effectively not work, you can rely on the BFS, or the backup flight system, to take over your fly-by-wire system instead, because it's using a completely different programming logic than the other 4 fly-by-wire computers. What's really neat too is the BFS could also be used to vote or veto the other computers as well, and could help with translating the fly-by-wire system along with the other 4 computers. Fortunately, and very fortunately, might I add, during the entire life of the Space Shuttle program, the BFS never had to be used. And the fly-by-wire computer systems functioned beautifully. So everything worked out just fine. As a matter of fact, they worked out well enough so that as time progressed and we came out with better and better computer systems, the PASS, or the primary avionics software system, as far as I remember, managed to outlive a good portion of the technology that occurred afterwards when it was time to upgrade the software for the space shuttle. I could be wrong on that though, but all in all, the PASS system that was used to control the fly-by-wire system on the space shuttle was used for quite a long time because it was so efficient. Okay, so we are doing a pretty efficient break here, and we've dropped our Apple apps pretty considerably. Where's our space station? Okay, so our space station is behind us. So what we need to do is we need to drop our orbit so that we are just slightly above our space station. So we're going to do what NASA calls a phase transfer once again. And we're going to phase transfer ourselves in an orbit that's above the Kerbal National Space Station here. Okay, so let's turn ourselves upwards here. Perfect. Okay. RCS is on, and we're going to move our prograde marker over the nose of our craft. And we're going to RCS along. We're going to shoot for 0.3 meters per second. There we are. And 0.2 and 0.3. Good, good, good. Okay, let's go and speed up time. Opening up cargo bay so that we can dock. Turning on lights. Perfect. Okay, look at that. We are coming on beautifully to the station. All right, so we are at 1 meter to target, coming in nice and easy. Magnetics taking over, RCS off, and then SAS off, And perfect. We have perfect docking. Going to speed up time a little bit here, get rid of some of this wibble wobble. And F5 for safety. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and grab our utility pod. And that utility pod is going to grab that nuclear engine off of the shuttle. Okay, detaching. Utility pod in 3, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, utility pod is away. Okay, time to go back to 5 times speed here as we recommit ourselves to our little delicate operation of removing that nuclear engine from the back of our space shuttle and reattach it back to the Kerbal National Space Station. So now that we've got our utility pod parked up against the nuclear engine, we'll go ahead and have Bill here attach the utility pod to the nuclear engine. And it's pretty much the same thing that we did before, except it is in reverse. There we are. So we need to realign our utility pod there. There we go. Oh boy. Gotta watch out for the physics there. Accidentally attach that pipe endpoint inside in such a way that when it rematerialized after I reattached it to the nuclear engine, it appeared inside of the utility pod, which pushed the utility pod away. One of the interesting side effects of using the Kerbal attachment system is watching out for those little weird glitches in physics, especially if you're attaching and reattaching bits, bobs, and pieces. Okay, and then we got Bill here supervising the move of our nuclear engine back to the space station here. There we are. We got a nice even coast over towards the top of the station. And then we're going to use our docking mod to reattach the nuclear engine back on to the top fuel tank portion of our station. There we are. And Bill's coming back again to do a little bit of supervision here as we watch very carefully and make sure that our docking ports are aligned. There we are, coming in nice and easy. What do you think, Bob? How's it looking? And perfect. All right, now it's time to go back to past me, go back to normal speed. Gonna grab that other one, and we're just gonna go ahead and attach it to the back of our utility pod there. Okay, Bill, good work. Oops, accidentally bumped your head there against that utility pod. Sorry about that. Okay, go ahead and head back into the station. Okay, and back into the station you go. Perfect. Okay, so let's go and turn off our docking alignment indicator here. And now let's go ahead and redock our utility pod here. And it's nothing really too special. We don't need to be too... we can be a little bit more aggressive on the dock here with our utility pod. This is a pretty sturdy little piece of equipment here. So we're just going to park it right up against that little mini docking port. Okay, and here we go. Coming in recklessly fast. Perfect. Okay, so we got everything docked and ready to go. All right, so now our next step will be to land our space shuttle back at the Kerbal Space Center here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and bring our Kerbal Space Center to daylight. So let's scooch on back to the Space Center here. First off, we're going to go ahead and save for safety purposes here. Okay, so back to the Space Center, because the Space Center is on the night side of the planet, so we need to scooch it over to the day side. To the Space Center. Space Center. Huh. Curious. I think we've encountered a bug. It doesn't want to go to the Space Center. Let's see if we can fix this here. What we're going to do is we're going to switch targets. Focus view. And switch to... Strange. Well, that's a little bit of a concern. We have a little bit of a bug. It doesn't want to go back to the Space Center. Oh, no! Let me tab through our targets here. Okay. Una, Ike, Dres, Jewel, Lave, Val, blah, 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 blah. Kerbal National Space Station. Okay. It doesn't even tab over towards... towards our space station, our the objects that we left in orbit around the moon. It's just stuck. Well, this is a pretty big concern here, guys. My goodness. Okay, well, I think this is nothing that a good reboot can't fix here. So we'll go ahead and save the shuttle landing back to the Kerbal Space Center for our next episode here. Additionally, we'll go ahead and use our next episode to also send our utility pods and expand the space station around the Mun on our next episode. So we'll go and leave on that note. Guys, I'd like to thank you for coming to our live stream today with our Space Shuttle Minimalist program. Remember, less parts is more, lighter vehicles is more. Thank you again. Let's go ahead and check the total part count that we're leaving in orbit around here. Part count is 90. Pretty respectable. Okay, well, thank you again, guys. Hope to see you guys next time. You guys have a wonderful night. And, hey, stay shiny.